Leadership isn't just about making decisions. It's about learning from those who have walked the path before you. Welcome to the TEMSEA Leadership Coaching Calls, where host Phil Sanderson, a national speaker, senior healthcare leader, and certified leadership coach, sits down with experienced EMS professionals to uncover their biggest lessons, toughest challenges, and best advice. Join us live, ask your questions, and take your leadership to new heights.
Well. Guess what, everybody? It is the first Friday of October the 3rd, and it is time for another one of our great live mentoring calls. Today, we have such a special guest. I look forward to getting in this conversation. Remember, we do this call each and every month along with our podcast because the most important person you ever lead is yourself. And I got to tell you, I think about that statement a lot, and it holds true to me in my everyday life. Today, we have a wonderful individual, Chief Jerome Cole from Germantown Fire Department. And I've been talking to Chief Cole for several months now about this call, and he's pumped up and got some great information to share with us. We're going to talk about servant leadership. Servant leadership in action is what we're going to talk about today. So, Chief Cole, you want to do just a real quick introduction yourself, and then we'll dive off into this wonderful topic.
Absolutely. Good morning. Thank you for having me. I'm Jerome Cole, Chief of EMS for the Germantown Fire Department. Been here 20 years. I got promoted to Chief of EMS 4 years ago. It's always been a journey for me from one stage of my life to the other to provide the best care for patients that I could. So that's what led me to this position. I'm really excited to be here this morning to share my vision and thoughts about leadership.
Yeah, 100%. Before we get started, Chief, you and I were kind of talking in the waiting room as we do on this call with all of our guests, and you shared something, and I want to make sure we don't forget that because you just kind of mentioned about your journey and taking care of the patients. Tell us, tell everybody what what you told us about your new hires, and you asked them this question. Uh, Remember what about,
Yes,
yeah. Tell us
yes.
about that.
I really enjoyed orientation with my new hires. And one of the questions I asked them is what led them to EMS? And I take that statement that they give me and I talk to them about determining how well or how committed they are to that statement. When you have my elderly patient who calls 7 times in a 24-hour period for a lift assist, on the seventh time, do you give them the same quality of care that you gave them the first time? That determines or shows me how committed you are to that statement you gave me in orientation. And then secondly, do you hold true to that throughout your career? The love and passion for patient care, did it change? Did it improve? Did it grow? Or did you allow it to die out? And it is our job as leaders to see that and to help mold and groom the future leaders on how to best take care of our patients and where that care comes from. Because that patient can feel when you're passionate about what you provide, the care you provide to them. And that's important to me.
100%. And that right there is a great start to this conversation, Chief Cole, about your example, your walk every day with your team in servant leadership in action. That's the title of this show here. So, you talk about servant leadership a lot. When you and I have talked about this for several months, recently we were at the TASA conference and just hanging out, and I was just wishing that we could record our conversation, but you talk about servant leadership a lot. What does that really mean to you?
Well, servant leadership for me, it means that you're always giving of yourself. You're always putting those you lead ahead of yourself. You're always committing your time, your thoughts, concerns, and everything to making sure that they have what they need to be excellent every day. That is what it means.
Yeah, well, so it's more than just the person in the job. It's more about the person, not just the job, right?
Exactly. It's more about the person. I want to make sure that I help uh, the person grow. So I call it the who versus the do. And servant leadership starts with who the person is, not just what they do. People need leaders who genuinely care about them. Correction or redirection only works when it comes from a place of authentic care. And that goes for anybody, whether you're on the job or off. You can tell the difference when people realize you care about them, they will accept correction.
Yeah, and so many leaders, as we talk about a lot on these calls and just out in general, are just terrible leaders. And so many people that are in leadership roles, they don't understand what you just said about generally caring for their team and their people. One of the things that really catches my ear when I'm in a conversation with others, and I'm not saying this is a bad thing, but it catches my attention because what comes to mind is this how you really feel, or is this just kind of a figure of speech? Is when people say, well, so and so they work for me versus so and so is one of my teammates. There's a defined difference in that statement and in regards to what you just said and authentically caring a who versus a do. I feel like that there's a defined difference because when we as leaders generally care about our people, we feel like they're a part of the family. Therefore, they're a part of the team versus they just work for us. So I love that the way you frame that up, and I say this every call. You can probably go back through all the calls that we've had, and I say what I'm about to say again because it holds true. People will do more for you as a servant leader because you care for them and they know you care for them. They generally feel the passion that you have, that you care enough for them to help them in their journey versus people that feel like, well, I just work for them. They're going to go an extra mile because they feel like you care versus, well, I'm just showing up here every day to do this job, and he's the boss. So I love how you frame that up because this all makes sense. Um, but what about the things that people don't say out loud? Sometimes people have these thoughts that they don't say out loud. Leaders don't say these things out loud. What about those things?
Well, just to back up just 1 second, I always tell my guys, I work for you. Let me
Hmm.
know what you need so I can provide you the things you need so that you can do the job at the level of expectation based on the organizational needs. That's what I tell them. As far as the things that don't say out loud, that's where the invisible work come in. Every one of us carry unspoken hopes, worries, and struggles. As a servant leader, I often find myself responding to those unseen emotions, what I call undercurrent, the turbulent waters of life. It can be emotionally demanding, so I have to be intentional about reflection and renewal every day to stay grounded. I think
Yeah.
that is so important for all of us. It helps with your staying sharp. It prevents or slow down the impact of the trauma that we face every day in this profession. So I think it's very important for that.
100%. I couldn't agree more. The last call last month we had on here, it was about women in leadership, and we touched on some of that stuff, especially for like single parents, single moms that
Mhm.
have their unspoken worries, their unspoken hopes, and their unspoken struggles. You know, you know, because and one of the things I think Joyce on the call mentioned is, single moms, they have to take care of their children too.
Uh-huh.
And as a
Absolutely.
leader, as a chief, you're over EMS, you have a duty to your community and your department and your organization to ensure that when someone calls 911, someone's going to respond. And whenever someone's, struggle in their life outside the organization comes into the mix there, we have very bad leaders out in this world that just would be like, well, I don't care. You got to figure it out. You come to work or this is over for you. That's a horrible leader. We all know
Yes,
that.
very cool. Yes.
So juggling servant leadership to try to help them to, navigate their struggles outside of your four walls of your organization is a whole nother level as a leader. And being able to see through that is a whole nother level as a leader. And unfortunately, uh, I feel like sometimes it's kind of it's a gift, we might say that not everybody has, and that's unfortunate because everybody in this world deserves to be led well.
Yes.
100%. We
I
all
agree.
deserve to be led well. 100%. And part of being a servant leader, Jerome, is just you got to know yourself. You got to know who you are. You got
Yes.
to know what you bring to the table. So what about that? What about knowing yourself?
Knowing yourself is pivotal. It determines how you deal with everybody else. Absolutely. Before I can serve others, I have to understand myself. I'm Jerome, the person, before I am Chief Cole, the leader. Through self reflection and um, meditation, I lead more authentically. Serving leadership isn't about title or authority, it's about who I am. Every person has thoughts, concerns, hopes, desires, goals, and me as a leader, I have to consider that and then learn how to help that person navigate through life. In other words, to become everything they want to be as a person while also helping grow the organization.
Amen. you don't you
That's
don't
what it's about.
you done got me on fire now because one of the things that we've talked about so many times, it's kind of my soapbox, titles. Titles don't, titles have their place, right? They
Yes,
have their
yes.
place. You're Chief Cole of the Germantown Fire Department. We know that. We know what your position is. We understand that. But your title, what so many people get hung up on is the title is the end all, but the title is the bottom of the barrel when it comes to what leadership looks like. You have to obviously, you got to have a title to get to a role like yours, but anybody can lead. The pinnacle of leadership goes up 5 steps, and ultimately respect is the top pinnacle,
Hmm.
and the title is just the very bottom, is step one where you begin. So in order to, and you hit on another one of my major points that I try to talk about in these calls too, is self-reflection and meditation.
Hmm.
That's where you learn about you. Everybody, especially if you're in leadership or if you are aspiring to be a leader, you need to take time in your day, would be the best idea, but at least in your week, to sit down, quiet, and just reflect, meditate, read something that, is helpful or inspiring, turn off the TV, the
Hmm.
computer,
Exactly.
and
Especially the computer.
yeah, 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 because we can sure get lost in that thing. The news, get away from all that and reflect on how your leadership is having a positive, or if it's having a negative, we need to check that in your organization or in other people's lives. So definitely good. Um, does it, does that make it leading feel easier or harder to know yourself or to self-reflect, or how do you feel about that? Does it make it feel easier or harder?
Honestly, it makes it feel natural. Serving isn't something that I do, it's more of who I am. It's deeply fulfilling for me to see others succeed, especially when I played a role in their growth.
Hmm.
I often compare it to the Chinese bamboo tree. Did some research. That tree, once planted, it requires a lot of cultivation and consistency for years without seeing any results. Generally like 5 years, and then suddenly it shoots up, and you
Yeah.
get that reward. That's people's growth is the same, quiet, unseen until one day it becomes visible. Patience and consistency are a must for servant leadership. You have to stay the course. Just because you don't see anything happening in that particular person right off the bat as you start leading them, that is an investment that you will see years down the line. And when you see it and they start to see it, man, that spark hits them and then they are off and running. And now you just created a whole nother leader. You develop somebody who can go on and continue to lead the way, not only the way you have inspired them to lead, the way their God given gifts can grow and develop. And now you can touch far more people.
100%. You touched on one of my favorite examples I love to talk about in my leadership talks is the Chinese bamboo tree, and that's and what you said there, planting those seeds in people and seeing their growth in 5, 6, 7 years
Right.
is the true leader, because every leader should leave a legend. You know,
Exactly.
what I love to say is true leadership really comes after you're gone. You know,
Ex-
yeah, when you
That's
decide to
perfect.
retire and look back and see all the leaders that are sitting in your seat, that are coming up, that's your day that you can really look back and be proud because you were a part of their life. And the bamboo tree, I love that example because you plant the seed, and
Mm-hmm.
then you water it every day, seven
Every
days a
day.
week, 7 days
Yep.
a week. Pour that
It,
water on it. You watering it. In 5 years, it sprouts up out of the ground, and within 6 weeks, it grows 90 feet tall.
90 feet tall. Exactly.
Love
Yeah.
that example.
Yeah. And,
Love
and,
that
and, and
example.
you can also add this to that particular one. You know, in the process of his growth, there will be weeds.
Hmm.
We pluck those weeds up gently because we don't want to destroy the seed. We know that it is going to grow. Similarly, with my employees or those that I work for, when they make mistakes, I come and talk to them about it in a love, kind, compassionate way. Whether it's a bad, regardless to the degree of that mistake, I remain consistent to the fact that I love you, I care about you, I want the best for you, and so let's talk about how we can prevent this from happening again. That's the weeds. That's pulling up weeds gently while not destroying what you have planted.
Mm, yeah, developing others. That's what.
Developing others.
Yeah, you gotta be a other developer, is a people developer. So what's the toughest part about leading this way? Because we can sit here and talk about it, and it sounds easy, but it's
Yeah,
really, to me, it's really tough. It's not easy. So what is the toughest part about leading this way?
man. I think transparency to inspire others. I have to admit, I'm not perfect. I make mistakes, and when I make those mistakes, I own them. That's not easy. That kind of honesty builds trust. It takes humility. It also shows my team that when they make mistakes, I too will understand. That frees them to take calculated risk, knowing they have my support because they know I'm not perfect. They understand they are not perfect. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to learn from it, and we're going to continue to move forward and grow as an organization, as a person and an organization.
Mm. Have you ever had
That,
a moment
that
where you?
transparency is so important. And it makes you stronger when you can say, I made a mistake. You were right. I was wrong. How can I improve this situation? How can I make this better? That's the meditation. That's the reflection. That's the growth and development. For me as a leader and for those I'm mentoring to be leaders. When they see that, it opens the door up for I can do this.
Yeah, I love the transparency. Have you ever had a moment where you had to really live that out?
Yes. When I first made lieutenant, that's a big step from
Yeah.
firefighter to driver, from driver to lieutenant. You know, that's a huge step. You got your own station house. And I was focused on being a servant leader. Even before I became a lieutenant, I was a servant leader. And I just started working on my bachelor's degree, which I needed to even qualify for EMS chief or to continue to move my career forward. Even though I was juggling school, I gave my full attention during the day's hours to my guys, uh, helping them meet their goals. I only would take the time to study or do my coursework after everyone else had uh, gone to bed for the night. I would get up at midnight and do my classwork or my coursework so that I did not take anything away from them. By putting their success ahead of my own, I was showing them what servant leadership looked like in action. And the best part is every one of those members has since been promoted and continue to excel as a person and has committed themselves even more so to the organization.
All I can say is, wow, that's a great story, a great example. Wow, that's powerful. That is very powerful. That to because people, to sacrifice like you did. I mean, that's a big deal to get up at midnight, in a 24-hour, or, whatever shift
Yes,
to do your coursework, but yet you're 100% focused through the day to your people and ensuring that they have the right things that they need, and then to look back and see where they have come and are continuing to go. That's a powerful story. Um, what about people who aren't, as we say, the boss or have the title? Uh, can they still lead like that?
absolutely. Everybody should pride themselves on being a leader in some way at the whatever level of life you're in. Help somebody. Servant leadership doesn't require a title, like we said earlier. It's about caring, consistency. It's a mindset of service. Anyone can practice it by doing the simple, everyday things, greeting uh, others sincerely, paying attention to their body language. What I mean by that is, I used to get to work early. I wanted to be the first one at my station so I could see my guys when they stepped out of their vehicles. If they slammed the door that morning, if they sat in the car and laid their head back, I knew something was wrong. Or if they jumped out excited, running up, talking, it told me this person having a good day versus a person that's not having such a good day. At that moment, I would approach that person. Hey, you don't have to tell me what's going on, but is everything seem like you have an issue? Yes. Okay. Do I need to put you on the engine today, or are you okay with getting on the unit? Things like that. Showing them that I care about them and I want to make sure that I put them in the best position each day to be successful. Secondly, greeting others sincerely and paying attention to the body language. That's the first step. Practicing active listening. So often we hear somebody talking and we're ready to give a response, but we haven't fully listened to what that person says. And I've often found out that that's all they want is to be able to just tell somebody what's going on. They don't expect you to give an answer all the time. They just want you to listen and care and support them through that moment. Stepping to help when they need things. You don't have to wait for somebody to ask you uh, to help. If you see them needing something, picking up boxes, whatever they need, go and assist them with that. Go the extra mile with the small acts of kindness. What do I mean by that? If somebody drops something, be quick to pick it up. If somebody has ran 7, 8 calls and hadn't eaten, be willing to jump on that unit and say, hey, I'm gonna run the next couple of calls. You finish your tickets and eat. When you get through, let me know. I'll come back and you can jump back on the unit. Little stuff like that goes a long ways and allow people to see how committed you are to them and to the organization to make sure things are being done correctly.
Yeah, those are good steps there. In case anybody missed that, I'm just going to repeat those. Greeting others as they come in the door. I mean, Chief, that's everybody should adopt that. Just imagine how our departments across this country, if the leader of the organization, the station house, or wherever your area is, got there early, and at the door was the greeter for everybody coming in on their shift that day. I love what you just said. If they slam the door, if they lay their head back, if they come in
Yeah,
excited,
yeah,
that's basic people skills right there.
basic, basic.
Basic.
Hmm.
And if you know, and if you understand what you just said, you can make a difference in not just that person's life, everybody's life for that whole entire day, that whole entire shift. And the same thing goes for, what if the leader of the previous shift, along with yourself, uh, uh, opened the door for the folks leaving? Well,
Exactly.
yeah, because now, mental health is a big thing that we're talking about in EMS and fire and police and first responders across the country. You could see as people are leaving, maybe what kind of day or shift they just had, what they're going home to, because they don't just leave your station, they're carrying that home
They carry it with them.
and they're going to bring it back
They can bring
if
it
it's
back.
not taken care of. So I love that. Practice active listening, wait for respond. I love that. People, I can't say that I'm good at that. I'm guilty as well. But people, are always looking to say what they're thinking versus listening to what the person's telling them, and then stepping out um, when they have a need. If you promote a good environment of people in your organization, and the leader cares for them, then generally speaking, it's going to promote a environment of people caring for each other, and they'll be more than happy to step up and go, "Hey, you've had a really rough day. Let me give you a break." And you go finish your meal or your run reports, and you come back. We'll talk about what's next. So love that. Going the extra mile, just acts of kindness.
Yeah,
People,
acts of kindness.
yeah, people definitely feel good about what they're doing. If anybody's got any questions, as I tell everybody on every call, we're almost to the end of this thing. Put those in the chat. We'll definitely have a minute here in a minute for Chief Cole to answer them. Let's talk about what who comes to mind when you think of a true servant leader.
For me, the ultimate, and I have to use that word, the ultimate example of servant leadership for me is Jesus Christ. He quietly put others first, guided them without ever seeking the spotlight. His life of perfect service, his willingness to give his life for others, continues to leave me in awe. Every day, I'm continually inspired by the reminder that through his grace, more can be done.
Mm,
He is the ultimate servant leader.
mm. Man, that's a great way to wrap this up. And we don't even have time for questions, but I'm going to add one more part to that. I'm the same way. I feel the same way. The ultimate servant leader is Jesus Christ. But I'll tell you to me, the one of the most profound examples that is written that we know about is when Jesus Christ himself put on the apron and washed the disciples' feet.
Oh man, that is a good example.
That
Wow.
gives me chills
Yes.
every time I think about it, read it. That is the ultimate example of servant leadership. Jesus Christ, I can just envision putting on the apron, pouring the water, kneeling down, washing the disciples' feet, and the disciples saying, "No, you're not going to wash my feet," and he's like, "Yes, I'm going
Yes,
to
I
wash your
am.
feet."
Yes.
Love it, love it,
Yeah.
love it. Well, we are out of time. I just want to kind of give a couple of quick little wrap ups here. Some of the key takeaways here is servant leadership is about people, not just performance. We are in the people business. Being a leader is about others. Authenticity and humanity, it
Yeah.
builds trust. Got to do that. Invisible work matters. People, respond to unspoken emotions. Leaders should respond to unspoken emotions and stay grounded. Patience is key as a servant leader. Anyone can lead through service. So kindness, support is more important than a title. Chief Cole, this has been a great call. I apologize that we didn't get a chance for questions, but you had some really, really good information to share. And as we always say, there's more that we could talk about. I invite everybody to come back next month for our next guest, and I hope everybody has a wonderful weekend, a wonderful day. Remember, the most important person you'll ever lead is yourself.
And yourself. Amen.